All right, my friends, welcome. J.R. Dukes at your service. Hope everybody's having a great day. And I want to say a special hello to all of our veterans out there on this Veterans Day. I want to bring you greetings from our President Joe Biden. I want to say hello to all you beautiful pieces of garbage out there. And of course, I'm being tongue in cheek about that, but you know how it is, folks. When we fight, we win. Oh, hang on a second. I got the wrong thing here mixed up, but no problem. No problem. We know what we're talking about. What a great day today is. What a great week this has been, right? Let me take just a quick moment and make sure everything's working the way it should work. Hello to everyone on the X platform. Welcome. Thanks for being here. On the X platform, I'm at Reach JR Dukes, and of course on YouTube, it's simply at JR Dukes. And of course, on True Social, it's also just simply at JR Dukes. And hello to our friend on Twitch. So come on in. We're going to talk about some of the recent developments going on today. And there's an interesting story right now that I really haven't heard a lot of talk about, but we all know Vivek Ramaswamy. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Published reports, and one video that I was able to find is actually talking about he's under very serious consideration to replace J.D. Vance. You know, J.D. Vance, of course, is currently a senator from the great state of Ohio, and because he is now the future vice president of the United States, he's going to have to resign his seat. Fortunately, the governor in Ohio is a Republican, and generally they replace or they determine the replacement for a senator when they resign or whatever the situation is. And from what I have been able to find out, the governor has graciously agreed to allow Donald Trump to pick his replacement. So there's a lot of speculation that Vivek might be the replacement, which would be interesting. So let me make sure everything's working good. Say hello. If you would like to join today's conversation, I just put you a link into the chat right now. All you got to do is click on that link. If you don't want to be on camera, no problem. You don't have to be on camera. You can simply call in and have a discussion with me at any time. You can also just simply have your phone, and you can use the video camera on your phone to appear via video. Pretty easy peasy, no big deal. If you haven't done so, if you're new to the channel especially, please introduce yourself, say hello, let us know where you are from. We'd like to have a lively discussion as we go through what's on the menu for today. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Again, any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I am so happy, my friends, that Donald Trump has pulled this off. I just kind of felt inside that once again, he was underrepresented in the polls, and thank God he was underrepresented, and him and J.D. Vance pulled out what can only be called a landslide. I mean, really, it's absolutely stunning that not only did he win the electoral college, but he was able to win the popular vote. And from the last time I checked, his percentages are only going up. They said it was like 7 million votes over Kamala Harris. We'll wait and see if that pans out or not, but that is a healthy advantage over Kamala Harris, especially for a Republican. Generally, Republicans have a very difficult time winning the actual popular vote. And of course, Donald Trump was able to do that. So congratulations to him. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris was actually able to win? Oh my goodness, that would be terrible. I mean, that would be something that would really shake the foundation of our country. That would effectively be a socialist / communist in the position of president of the United States. Now we see the reason why it is so critical, so important that we go through the primary process. We need these candidates to battle each other, to test each other within their own party. And then the idea is that the cream of the crop, if you will, rises to the top. And again, wow, amazing that things worked out the way they worked out. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's take a look over on Truth Social and see what President-elect Donald Trump, I like saying that, President-elect Donald Trump has to say. There has been a number of appointments made today. If you haven't heard already, we're going to talk about a couple of the appointments because these folks are rather interesting characters. We have this is only an hour, 2 hours ago now, a statement from President Donald Trump dated today. I am honored to nominate Chairwoman Elise Stefanik to serve in my cabinet as United States Ambassador to the United Nations. If you remember, the former ambassador, Nikki Haley, I believe she was also the governor of South Carolina. Donald Trump was very clear in stating that she nor the former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, would be part of his administration. I don't want to call it retribution. He handled it very politely and professionally, but clearly Nikki Haley, at least in Donald Trump's mind, and frankly in my mind, pushed things too far. She never came out with a full endorsement of Donald Trump. She, in my opinion, stayed around too long during the primary. And, you know, there's a fine balance right there, ladies and gentlemen. You definitely have to battle each other, but you don't want to go so hard, so far to where you damage the other candidate and you lessen their chances to be able to pull off and win the election. At the end of the day, it's important to come together quickly with unity. And I get it. You know, when you lose, it's probably a terrible feeling. Ron DeSantis did it. He immediately endorsed Donald Trump. They did not appear at the time together, but he still issued a statement and unequivocally supported Donald Trump and threw his support behind him. And that's exactly what Nikki Haley should have done, and she did not do that. Now, she did show up at the convention and she endorsed him, but let's be honest about it. We kind of all know the subtext here is that she was not very enthusiastic about Donald Trump. And if you remember, when she was giving interviews on Fox News and a few other places, she was kind of a matter of fact about it. Listen, there's going to be a woman president. It's going to either be me or Kamala Harris. I mean, I don't know about you. That was getting on my last nerve. It was irritating. It was aggravating. And I'm glad that she's not going to be part of his administration. To make a long story short, I just don't think that if I was in Donald Trump's shoes, I would invite her. And then, of course, with Mike Pompeo, when the January 6th nonsense happened, he went on television. I believe I have a clip of it today. We'll see if it's on my Twitter feed here when we take a look at it in a second. But he came out and let's just say he was less than supportive for Donald Trump. And again, I don't blame Donald Trump. I would not be throwing my support behind somebody that was not there to help me. So folks, if you're just joining us, if you would hit the thumbs up button, it helps the channel, helps the algorithm, helps push the message out. I'm all about ending indoctrination, helping people make their own mind up about what's going on. On my channel, I love to talk about politics, current events, asset protection, and legal affairs, including but not limited to the police and generally what goes on in our court system. That, in a nutshell, is where I like to talk about what my channel's about. And if you find these subjects interesting, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're on the X platform, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the heart. I appreciate that. That's something for free that you can do. And again, it helps out the channel. Looks like we have a healthy crowd already in here, so I appreciate everybody being here. All right, the next statement issued by President Trump today, it's only been about 3 hours. He says, as the 45th and 47th President of the United States, I'm pleased to announce a highly respected former congressman from New York, Lee Zeldin. And of course, he is going to head the EPA, which I believe is going to be a fantastic choice. Can you imagine Kamala Harris imposing that Green New scam, as Donald Trump would call it? You talk about something that would intrude every piece of our life, every section of our lives would be under the privy of the federal government. You have the EPA, who has already went out and effectively identified every mud hole trying to regulate it, as far as water quality, as far as you name it. They're trying to take it over, ladies and gentlemen. It's really stunning and unbelievable how close we've come to the abyss with this last election. I'm telling the honest God truth. It is just stunning that they would take this. And listen, I want to be clear. I love the environment. I want clean water. I want to breathe good, fresh air. I want to leave the planet in good shape for my children. I'm all about that. But I'm not about destroying the American economy because they think it's going to be 1 or 2 degrees hotter in 50 years. When I'm at a red light waiting for the light to change, I know it changes 1 or 2 degrees up or down either way. I mean, I frankly just don't get it. When I was a kid in school, we were taught there was going to be an ice age. Has anybody out there remember that back when you were in school? I was taught, hey, there's going to be some type of ice age. And I remember that the evidence they gave for the fact we were going to have an ice age is they said it was only 30 years between the last ice age and the normal climate of today. And then, of course, they didn't like that label for whatever reason. And then years later, what were we calling it? Global warming or global cooling. I mean, they kept changing their minds one way or the other. But they were talking about how hot everything was getting. And then you had politicians announcing that their president, that they are a candidate for president of the United States, and the snow is pouring down, and people literally laughing at them because it's just freezing. Well, that wasn't working out. So what did they do? Now they call it climate change, which to me is kind of a, I don't know if it's an oxymoron or if it's just funny on some level, because climate change, that's kind of inferred. In other words, climate by definition is the temperature, the rain, the conditions over time. And climate by definition changes. Anybody understand exactly what I'm saying? That's the way that I see it anyways. I want to say a quick hello to American Nana, Rosemarie Fier. Thank you for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you in. And you're right, American Nana. That's right. The Ice Age. That's what I was taught when I was a kid. And listen, I have to be very careful about talking about it here on YouTube because they have terms and service of conditions. And I've already had one warning on a video that was taken down pertaining to this past election. So I have to really be careful. Of course, on the X platform, it's free speech and I can talk about it there and say whatever I choose to say. But at any rate, this is one of the things to keep in mind. I really am concerned about this free speech issue, which is another reason I'm glad to see President Donald Trump returning to the White House. But thanks, American. And I knew that, Zach, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here. I know everybody start piling in right about now, so it's good to have everybody here. Always remember in life that when you see the authorities, whomever, the government, let's just go with the government, and they are trying to tell you that you're wrong, and if you even talk about it, they're going to penalize you. You know that something's wrong. Do you know the people on the news, that the meteorologists that bring our forecast to us, they have a shield or a credential, if you will, called the American Meteorological Society, the AMS. You'll see the shield generally at the bottom on the right or left-hand side of your screen showing their credentials to practice what they're practicing. If you say what I just said publicly, you cannot have those credentials. And if you have those credentials, they'll strip them from you. Just like they call the J6 people, or, just anybody pertaining to the election. You're an election denier. You're a climate change denier. Think about that. When they start telling you how to think, something's wrong. We don't even have the ability in America anymore to say what our opinion is. You had Kamala Harris and the Democrats, these woke individuals coming out, and what do they call it now? Misinformation, disinformation. That is a pretext to take away our free speech rights. That's just the way it is. And the funny thing is, like our founding fathers would tell each and every one of us, being able to express your opinion, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, is effectively showing how healthy or sick, if you will, our democracy is. Our democracy is. If we cannot say what our opinions are, look out. We're heading in the wrong direction. I am fully confident that Donald Trump, along with Elon Musk, is going to take steps to ensure and essentially make it stronger, the rules and the regulations, making sure that our opinion, our free speech is protected. At least that's exactly what I hope that they're able to pull off right here. And of course, Donald Trump, moving on with this here, he does not like Anthony Scaramucci. Remember the Mooch? They used to call him the Mooch. I believe he was there for 11 days. And matter of fact, it says it here. He goes on that Anthony's a major loser who was fired from the administration after only 11 days for his insane brother from another mother interview with Chris Cuomo, then with CNN. Interesting. And then, of course, we have this posting here. It says the Anthony Scaramucci got destroyed by, what is that, Squawk Box Joe Crinan on CNBC. You will always be welcome at the table of legacy media and have people nodding as they call you trash. Interesting. Let's take a quick peek at this video, and then we're going to move on here.
Coarseness to some of the rhetoric, There was some threatening suggestions to people related to being political adversaries and so on and so forth. And I hope we can put that rhetoric aside and we can move forward and think about what we're going to do as a country to unify the country and make the people in the country, particularly the lower and middle income people.
I actually remember this guy in the controversy with this, and he's one of the individuals, I guess you could add to the list, that he effectively turned his back on President Trump. And now that President Trump is returning to power, it's kind of like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know, I chose the wrong horse. I thought Donald Trump was one and done, and he wasn't going to be making a return. And of course, thankfully, that is not the case. So Donald Trump on this other posting, this is just from this morning, it's only about 7 hours ago. It says Trump taps Tom Homan as border czar. This guy is tough. This guy is tough as nails. He's going to make a fantastic border czar. This is exactly the guy they need for this particular job. Let's take a quick peek at this here.
We got to tell you about big news from overnight. A Fox News alert. President-elect Trump's new cabinet is starting to take shape because overnight, while you were sleeping, he tapped Tom Homan to be his border czar.
Trump saying, quote, there is nobody better at policing and controlling our borders. Likewise, Tom Homan will be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin.
He worked with the president to come up with this job description. So let's hear from him. In his first interview after the major announcement, incoming border czar, Tom Homan. Tom, congratulations to you. It's bad for us. We lose you as a contributor. What went into the decision and the position?
Well, look, I've been on this network 4 years complaining about what this administration did to this border. I've been yelling and screaming about it, telling them what they need to do to fix it. So when the president asked me, would you come back and fix it? Of course I have to. I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. So look, I'm honored the president asked me to come back and help solve this national security crisis. So I'm looking forward to it. And look, I love Fox. I love the family there. And
I think he's going to be perfect, ladies and gentlemen, for this position. I got another video of his coming up a little bit later that we're going to take a look at, but he is going to be a fantastic asset, and hopefully he can at least start deporting a large number of criminals and gang members, get them out of our country, get them back to their original countries where they belong. And just as a side note, my girlfriend is Venezuelan. She come from Venezuela, I don't know, it's about 7-8 years ago. She still has friends and family in Venezuela. She has told me unequivocally that the crime rate in Venezuela has dropped quickly and has dropped substantially. It is safe on the streets there in Venezuela. And why? It's because, like President Trump has said, all of the criminals, all the people that were, let's just say they're undesirables or whatever label you want to use, all these criminals were simply released and told, do not return. And you know where they went? They went here to the United States. So when you hear that from our president, that is not a joke. It's just not something he's saying. It's not a platitude. It's nothing along them lines. He's telling you facts, and I can tell you from personal experience, he is correct. All right, Donald Trump says, previewing foreign policy under Trump's leadership. So he is making a number of appointments. We know that he appointed
President Trump taking immediate action.
Head of, or I should say, as his chief of staff. Let's listen to this clip.
With leaders across the globe in the 24 hours after he secured victory. So what will foreign policy look like under President Trump's leadership? Our former GOP congressman and New York gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin joins us now with more. Lee, thanks for being here. What does in a second term here, what does a Trump foreign policy look like?
A continuation of a lot that worked when President.
Incidentally, he has appointed Lee Zeldin to a position. We're going to talk about that.
President Trump was in the office the first time, and President Trump's next term victories have actually already begun. The election was this past Tuesday. You already have the European Union indicating that they'll purchase now possibly United States natural gas to avoid Trump tariffs. There was a caravan that was coming through Mexico that was pretty massive, already cut in half. Qatar kicking Hamas out of its country. President Trump.
This is amazing. He's exactly correct. President-elect Donald Trump has only been president-elect for a very short time, and he's rattling off a list of fantastic things that are already taking shape just simply because President Trump is President Donald Trump elect. Absolutely amazing.
Trump already speaking to President Zelensky about ending the war in Ukraine. That bit that you just played from President Trump on election night is exactly a peace through strength model that worked, of ending foreign wars instead of starting new ones, about having a military that was focused on being America's defenders instead of a woke social experiment. And understanding that we need to treat friends as friends and adversaries as adversaries as abroad, and never sending our troops into harm's way where they're set up to fail. President Trump has had 4 years of success from the Abraham Accords, withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal, and more. I think it's about picking.
You know, speaking of those Abraham Accords, do you know if this would have been Barack Obama, Donald Trump would have already won the Nobel Peace Prize. He would have won it during his first term. Remember Barack Obama, they gave him the so-called Nobel Peace Prize before he actually did anything. It was kind of like, hey, we know you're going to do great things. Here's the prize. Donald Trump actually was able to push through these Abraham Peace Accords, and you hear crickets. You hear absolutely nothing. It's just interesting how there's always two separate standards for conservatives and liberals.
Picking up from where he left off and then some, I think his next term is going to be even greater than the last one.
Which aspect of that do you think is most crucial? Because you just laid out a great a list of things that have been done and will be done. When you're looking at,
well, it's more than that. You also have, just from published reports that I've read, you have Hamas coming forward saying that they would like to put an immediate stop to the war, which of course is completely different than what they have been saying. You have Russia agreeing that they will talk peace. Same thing from the Ukraine. You have the European Union saying, hey, guess what? We will look at we're going to stop buying Russian oil, and instead we're going to buy oil from the United States of America. Imagine that. Just absolutely stunning how having the right leadership, effective leadership makes all the difference in the world. Here is I believe this is the one that's kind of touching on the heartstrings. And of course, this is in honor of Veterans Day. This was this morning by Ainsley Earhart. I believe this is Sean Hannity's girlfriend, actually. But at any rate, she kind of had this sweet moment with these people in this diner. Let's listen for just a second.
Sir, thank you so much for being here. Now, you have a message for Lawrence Jones, right?
I do. Quill says hello to Nala, her cousin. So,
Lawrence, this is Nala's cousin.
yeah, his name's Quill. He's my service dog that was given to me from Baden Canine and Special Operations Wounded Warriors. And then I actually started my own nonprofit about 6 years after having him. And now I provide service dogs nationwide to our veterans.
Wow, and tell us what work you've been doing in North Carolina.
So we've been out in the western part of North Carolina helping with recovery of the bodies and cadaver work and trying to find those that are missing in western North Carolina for about 3 weeks now. So
how long have you been doing?
Remember, he's talking about the what was that, Hurricane Helene that went through the panhandle of Florida, and then it hosed these folks over there in South Carolina. So apparently he's been there helping with rescue and recovery efforts.
So I've been working the dogs for about 6 years, and I started my own organization in June of 22.
Okay, well, thank you for what you do for veterans and for families, for Americans. How'd you feel about the election?
It was probably the best thing we could have done is got Trump in there. He's going to save our country, and we need that.
What were the biggest issues for you?
For me, it's the illegal immigration, the economy, and just the overall getting the moral of the country back on track.
Right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a neat story, Lawrence. Y'all are.
She had a ton of very interesting and heartfelt stories this morning directly from that diner. I just thought it was pretty cool. So, all right, we're going to switch over to the X platform. I got some things on there I want to chat about. And then, matter of fact, let's take a look at this first from Vivek. This is what I was telling you about. He is actually a serious contender to be a senator from Ohio. I think that would be a fantastic thing, a fantastic reward. And plus he would be really good at that. I mean, you know, he is extremely well spoken. I have basically spoken his praises for quite some time now. He's very smart, very articulate. He has charisma. And he's always been there for Donald Trump. So let's take
Few
a
people in
quick peek at
America
this.
face a choice like the one encountering 39-year-old Ramaswamy. Will he follow through on the interest he's already expressed in running for governor in 2 years? Will he seek a Senate appointment to succeed his good friend Vance? Or will he take a job, perhaps even a cabinet post, in the administration of incoming President Donald Trump?
Trump's decisive victory on Tuesday opens up a lot of possibilities to change the country. We're obviously having discussions and they're not going to be sorted out in the press.
But he doesn't want just some minor job.
So there's a lot of ways to shape the country. I'm looking forward to playing a big role, and we have some big ideas for what's ahead.
Bloomberg News reported in March that Trump told Ramaswamy he might become Homeland Security Secretary. That position likely will head the deportation of millions of immigrants in America illegally, a position ideal for the son of legal immigrants, Trump allies say.
And I want to reflect on the biggest and best possible way that we can use that skill set as an outsider to hopefully transform this country. And I obviously care immensely about this state. The future of Ohio is important to me as well.
So he's waiting to weigh a Trump offer versus a possible Ohio leadership role. The non-woke financial service firm Ramaswamy co-founded in 2022 just announced it's moving its headquarters from Dublin to Dallas. Strive Enterprises also starting a new wealth management business in Dallas, emphasizing Bitcoin. Ramaswamy, now only an advisor to Strive, is remaining in Central Ohio. For 6 on Your Side, Daryl Rowland, ABC 6 News.
Yeah, that would be interesting if he gets an appointment like that, a senator from the state of Ohio. That would be kind of nice. Let me show you this newspaper article. They talk about it just a little bit more in depth, and we'll see what you think about that. Do you guys think he would make a good senator, or you think he should be actually in the cabinet, or where would you like to see him serve the country? Anybody got an opinion on that? If you do, put it in the comments so that I can take a look at it here. All right. Anyway, it says 2 front runners. Now, just so we're clear, this is from the New York Post from today. And it says 2 front runners emerge in race to replace J.D. Vance in Senate. Trump will make the call. Okay, that's what I was reporting earlier. It says the race to replace Vice President-elect J.D. Vance in the Senate. But top GOP strategists tell the Post only 2 real candidates remain, and that is Jane Timken and Vivek Ramaswamy. Timken, a Harvard-educated attorney and Ohio Republican chair, so he's the current chairperson in Ohio for the GOP, is the slight favorite in the eyes of Governor Mike DeWine. But sources close to his decision. The deciding factor will be President-elect Donald Trump. So he has kind of said, hey, I'll want to take President Trump's final advice before I make the decision. Because remember, folks, it is up to the governor. And I believe that's the way it is in most states, if not all the states. If he decides to pursue DeWine and ask him to appoint a more Make America Great Again candidate, Ramaswamy will win the seat, sources say. So he's going to effectively just deter to President Trump before he makes his final decision. But you know what? In my mind, that's pretty sweet. You effectively have, what would you call it, a 50-50 chance of being a senator from the state of Ohio. I kind of like those odds. Those are not bad odds, right? So let's switch over to the X platform, our favorite Elon Musk company, right? Of course, I don't know if you like Tesla, that would be another option. All right, let's take a quick peek at this. I got some stuff here on my feed for you that I want us to go over. Now, here's a posting right here. It says Trump's plan to dismantle the U.S. indoctrination system. Have you all heard about this? This has to do with the colleges by seizing funds from schools that refuse to comply with his accreditation system. Let's take a quick peek at this and listen to this, and then we can
Our
talk
secret
about it.
weapon will be the tuition costs at colleges and universities have been exploding. And I mean, absolutely exploding. While academics have been obsessed with indoctrinating America's youth, the time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics.
You know, this is so on point. Let's be straight up and honest about it. The college system here in America is nothing but an indoctrination machine for the far left. That's the reason why these kids go into college and they come out with these extreme woke views. There is a reason why the overwhelming vast majority of the educators in this country share these beliefs. Something is going on inside these college campuses, and we know exactly what it is.
We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again and once and for all. These standards will include defending the American tradition and Western civilization, protecting free speech, eliminating wasteful administrative positions that drive up costs incredibly, removing all Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucrats, offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees, providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing college entrance and exit exams to prove that students are actually learning and getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to.
And when he talks about endowment, going after and looking at their endowments, when you start going after the purse strings of these colleges and these universities, that's when you're going to get their attention. And I think Donald Trump is just the person to do
have
that.
them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America.
Amen. Amen, Mr. President Trump-elect. That is spot on. I think that's fantastic. On the other hand, remember, you had President Joe Biden. What was he doing? He was effectively taking money from plumbers, electricians, welders, HVAC repairmen, and giving it to individuals who currently have a doctorate degree or they are a practicing attorney. They happen to have a lot of student loan debt, so he wants to go ahead and pay off their debt on the backs of other people who have either paid off their debt or simply never chose to take on that type of debt. It's a form of buying votes, plain and simple. That's exactly what it is, and it should be illegal. And another irony here is how many times have they hammered President Trump, saying effectively he's not following the law, he's trying to overturn something, whatever. And yet you had Joe Biden. He has been told twice by the U.S. Supreme Court that your scheme to pay off these student loans without congressional approval is illegal. Don't do it. It goes back to the executive branch, President Biden, and he simply finds another way to try another scheme, another way to try to pay people's debt, aka buying votes. It's just absolutely unconscionable. And I'm glad to some degree it was stopped. I don't know if you guys know who Mike Davis is. Mike Davis is going to be a major player in this administration. I believe he is about to be tapped to be the Attorney General for the United States of America. He's currently serves as one of President Trump's attorneys. And when we see, I don't know if it's this video or the next one, but this is going to be a name that you guys are definitely going to know. He gave a serious, stern warning to Leticia James, and he kind of just put her on notice. You know how Leticia James has come out threatening President-elect Trump before he's even taken office? Wait till you hear what he has told her. He basically put it to her really blunt that, well, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. So we'll take a look at that in just a second. Here is President Biden being asked today, is Donald Trump still a threat to democracy? Remember, friends, they were constantly telling us that democracy is on the ballot, that if President Trump becomes president again, our democracy is over. Here was Joe Biden's response today.
Still a threat to democracy.
I know you probably couldn't hear him. What he was saying here is one of the reporters shouted out to him, is President Trump still a threat to democracy? And his response was, I'm going to meet with him Wednesday. Just kind of interesting how they're going to handle that. If you remember, the press secretary the other day got really, really mad when she was on the end of similar questions, such as these questions. They were asking her, hey, you've been talking about how Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Has that changed, or how are you going to effectively cooperate with the fascists to turn over the keys to the government? Just kind of interesting, isn't it? It's going to be interesting to see how they walk these fine lines. Here's a video I found today I thought was worth looking at.
He's not going to.
Here's Nancy Pelosi and others saying Donald Trump's not going to be president again.
He is not. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank.
Okay.
I guarantee it.
All right.
That was back before his election in 2016, by the way.
Becomes the president here, make it great, because the States is already great.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
Mama always said life's like a box of chocolate. He missed that one.
Take it from me. How about that?
And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
That was at that White House Correspondents' Dinner. I think it was, actually it says here 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner. There's President Trump before he was president right there in the middle.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
So when you stand and deliver that State of the Union address, in no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit. I continue to believe.
That didn't really age well, did it? That's pretty funny.
Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
There's Pocahontas giving her blessings and her opinions as to what's going to happen.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
You guys remember that right before he actually won or actually announced that he was going to seek the nomination as a Republican candidate? All these people treated him like he was literally a joke.
Sorry to laugh.
Okay, here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
And so right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president, all right? It's been fun. It's been great. I love you. But come on, buddy. All, let's say, cow poo-poo aside, there is zero chance we'll be seeing you being sworn in on the Capitol steps with your hand on a giant golden Bible.
I'll make a prediction, though, for you. And I don't really get into predictions much, but this one I'll go way out on a limb. Donald Trump will never, ever be president of the United States.
And I think that's Ronald Reagan's son, if I remember right. Just kind of interesting, a little trip down memory lane. I thought that was interesting because they still said the same thing about him before he was elected this time around. Just hilarious to hear these people say this. All right, here we're going with Mike Davis. This is what I was just mentioning. This is something you want to hear because this is going to be extremely important. We're all familiar with Leticia James. She's been hammering Donald Trump every chance she's able to do so. She even ran on a campaign. And folks, I know a lot about the law. You're not supposed to have an agenda like that as an attorney general. When it comes to justice, it's supposed to be blind. You know those statues where Lady Justice has a blindfold on? It's supposed to be blind. It's supposed to be applied without fear or favor. It's supposed to be fair. And Leticia James is a lot of things, but she's not fair, and nor has she ever been fair, especially when it comes to President Donald Trump. Well, now that Donald Trump is going to be president again, his attorney, who I think is going to be the next attorney general of the United States, was very blunt in putting her on notice that we're going to come after you. I know that a lot of us were thinking Donald Trump's going to come back to office, and he's not going to go after the people that used lawfare against him. Of course, that's a violation of the law to do that, and that's exactly what they did. And, well, you decide for yourself. I'm going to play you the clip, and you tell me if you think that they're going to come looking for her.
I dare you.
This was on this was on the Benny show, as you can tell. I think it's Benny. Yeah, Benny Johnson.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time. And we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike, this isn't the same Trump administration. Stop messing around. Don't rig elections. Don't illegally vote. Don't try the funny business, because we know the team this time and they are not effing around.
Yeah, there's another clip of this where they go into it more. I'll just call it a deeper dive. They go into it a much more deeper dive. And the bottom line is this: he cites the actual code section and what they call the CFC, the Code of Federal CFR, the Code of Federal Regulation. They specifically know exactly what they're going to go after her for, and it's a very serious offense. It's effectively violating civil rights of a particular individual. If I was Tish James, I would not be speaking out in this particular manner where you're threatening an individual. And folks, make no mistake about it, the president of the United States, that position is extremely powerful. And I know right now we have all these governors coming forward, these Democratic governors acting like they are the next Donald Trump because they're starting to talk tough and rude. That I forgot that fat guy out of Illinois, but he's like, if you're going to get to my residence, you're going to have to come through me. And you have that Hochul in New York. She's doing the same thing. And of course, in California, you have Gavin Newsom that's kind of walking the wire in between. He's talking tough, and then on the other hand, he's trying to say, I'm happy to help out President Trump. But I think these people better be very careful. They better tread lightly, because I think Donald Trump has a right to go after these people after what they have done to him and to our country. It's not the fact that they just did it to him. They did this to our country. We no longer have the moral authority to tell people how they should conduct their own elections, how they should not go after the political opposition, how they should put petty differences aside and just focus on their country. Because let's be honest about it, the Democrats started going after President Trump as soon as they knew he was running for president of the United States again. What they should have done, if they were going to be honest about it, they should have went after him way before, like right after the so-called January 6th problem happened. And of course they did not. It is what it is. And it's shocking and it is shameful. Here's a real small clip of AOC. She wants you to do a favor for her. Let's take a peek at this and you'll tell me what you think about this. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Are you listening to? Which accounts are you?
No, sorry from the beginning.
Which podcasts are you listening to? Which accounts are you subscribing to? I'm interested, like genuinely. Let me know which ones specifically, which accounts, which podcasts, etc. Which podcast?
That's probably one of the smartest things I've seen her request in quite some time. That's the reason why I included that clip on my stream today, because what she wants to do is she wants to find out what are people listening to. So next time around, they can start going on these podcasts and do what Donald Trump, because Donald Trump did something that obviously was effective because he won. Where on the other hand, you had the Democrats doing their old school, going door to door to knock. Well, Donald Trump went on all these different podcasts, along with JD Vance for that matter, went to all these different apps, all these different media that exist. I mean, look at me right now. I'm sitting here talking with 60, 70, some of my new best friends right here, just at a computer. I mean, it's just so easy to reach out and talk to people instead of having to go door to door to try to talk to people one at a time. And she realizes that this technology is different in 2024 than what it was 20, 30 years ago. And I think that's smart for her. I mean, I don't agree with her wacky politics, but I've always said two things about her. She's a good-looking woman, that's for sure. And then number two, she's not stupid. She's intelligent. It's just that her facts or the way she sees the world is way out there in left field, to be perfectly honest about it. So, all right, this right here was posted by this American AF terrifying Camilla supporter is encouraging federal liberals to poison. I can't make this stuff up. The poison MAGA members. You know that the woke has went absolutely nuts, leaving the country, shaving their head. We've talked about it on this program for many days now, but I just can't make this up.
Never gonna happen, sweetie. Your body, our choice.
I have to be kind of careful with the music in the background, so I have to kind of be careful with that. But basically, she's giving you the direct impression, showing this woman from history that poisoned or killed 600 different people. These people have no shame. It says the doctors were unable to determine the cause of death for these men. It's debated whether she found and tried, or if she was found and tried, or just got cold feet. Interesting.
Am I right?
These people.
Aqua Tavana. If you know, you know.
These people crazy. That's all I can say about that. I have not seen people calling for people to be poisoned. I'm really surprised these people don't have a knock on the door from law enforcement, to be honest with you. It's one thing to say I'm leaving the country. It's one thing to say all kinds of crazy stuff. But when you are instructing people to poison MAGA people, that seems like it's crossing the line, doesn't it? I know there's a line there, and that just seems like it's crossing it. Elon Musk, he said they did and they will get it. The people voted for major government reform. Look at all of the red on this map. Let's see if it blows up. Yep, there it is. Look at that. What this is, these are all the counties in the United States from coast to coast. And obviously where you see red is a county that was won by President Donald Trump elect. The purple, the blue, whatever it is, you know that I'm colorblind, just as a disclaimer. The blue, purple color that it's not purple, it's blue. That's right. The blue color is where Kamala Harris won that particular county. Interesting. You can literally go coast to coast and touch only red. Just want everybody to see that kind of in a graph form, so you a pictorial form, so you know exactly how well he's doing or how well he did. Now here is our favorite Paul Ryan. Back just last year, 2023, he was saying if we nominate Donald Trump, we're going to lose.
I want to win. I'm not a Trump fan. I want to win, and if we nominate Trump, we're going to lose. He hasn't won anything since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
We lost the House in 18. We lost the presidency in 20. We've lost the Senate. We would have won the Senate this time in 22 had it not been for Trump and his nominees in some of our key primary elections. And my guess is we probably would have picked up 10 to 15 seats in the House if it weren't for his involvement. I'm not.
Why don't you know these people? They have to really be hating life after making all these predictions. How about not Kamala Harris, but Liz Cheney, my favorite. You know how I enjoy talking about sweet Liz Cheney. Friends, you know what it is? All these people make poor choices. They go out and they try to hammer Donald Trump behind his back. And Liz Cheney's situation, I mean, it's just real clear. She has such hubris. She thinks that she is kind of like a god. Instead of representing the people of the state of Wyoming, the people in her district, instead of doing what she was sent to Congress to do, instead she decided that she knew what was best for the state of Wyoming. And that's just not the way it works. That's not the way it works, Liz Cheney. you effectively bit the hand that fed you, so to speak, and you decided that you were going to go a different direction than the way that your voters, your supporters wanted you to go. And of course, the results are you were removed out of office. And now you have done everything and anything you can, including supporting someone like Kamala Harris, who is at least a socialist, if not an actual communist / fascist herself. You get what you sow, right? Isn't that in the Bible that you reap what you sow? So Liz Cheney and these other individuals, they got no one to blame, ladies and gentlemen, other than themselves. You agree or disagree? Put in the comments, and I'll be reading them soon here because I really want everybody's opinion. We got 70 some people right now in the feeds, so let me know, or I should say on all the platforms. All right, a couple more of these. We have the Democrat blame game has moved to the Merrick Garland should have locked Trump up before the election. This is what I was touching on earlier. They're now saying that, hey, one of the mistakes we made is we should have went after Donald Trump the day after January 6th. We should have been trying to put him in prison ever since then. It says Politicos, whatever the name is, blames Garland for not being interested in doing what may need to be done. That's kind of weird English, but okay. Let's take a quick listen to this here and tell me what you think.
Why does Attorney General Garland bear full responsibility for what's about to happen?
I'm not sure I would say full, to be clear. Some, and as I mentioned in the column, there are a lot of other Republicans but I think, look, Garland and the Justice Department played an absolutely important and unintentional role here. After Trump lost in 2021, there should have been a quick and robust criminal investigation into his conduct post-2020 and to his potential financial crimes, a lot of which we were on notice of at that point in time. That should have happened promptly. In part because it was always the case that Trump might run for re-election and be able to win through democratic means. And the life cycle of a criminal case, particularly a criminal prosecution, you cannot wrap them up in 2 years, not complex ones, right? And we've just learned that. The whole country has just learned that. Yep. So unfortunately, Merrick Garland came in, and it was apparent from the start, even when I wrote a piece after his confirmation hearing where I said, I am not sure he's actually interested in doing what may need to be done here. And, the reporting from the Washington Post and the New York Times, in-depth reporting from people like Carol Leonnig and others, basically reported that there was a year and a half.
So basically what you have here is you have a list of what the Democrats are saying are the reasons why they lost the election. It's real simple, folks. It has nothing to do with, and just so we're clear, in this particular video, what they're trying to say is we should have engaged in lawfare on January 7th, 2021. We shouldn't have waited till Donald Trump declared that he was going to seek the nomination again for the Republican nomination. We should have went after him a long time ago. Basically, we should have committed the crime of lawfare right after Donald Trump allegedly committed his crimes in their eyes. Could it be the reason they lost the election is because America rejected socialism? America rejected putting someone in the office of the presidency that was not qualified? Could it be, ladies and gentlemen, that the American population was simply tired of having open borders, of having men compete with women in sports? Could it be that Americans want security at home, that we want a world that's not at war? I mean, the list goes on, and they keep acting like there's this magical reason why they lost other than the obvious. We don't want censorship of our free speech. Remember, Kamala Harris was one of the advocates to take President Trump off of Twitter. It was called Twitter back at that time. So these people have a history of going after our rights. They talk about Donald Trump going after our rights. It's just completely opposite. It reminds me of that book in 1984 where everything is backwards. Everything that you thought was one way is the other way. And the government, aka the Biden-Harris administration, is actively engaged, and we call it gaslighting now. They're actively engaged of telling us you cannot believe your lying eyes. And that's exactly what it boils down to. So just insane what these people do. And of course, Mark Cuban, how could we not have a show like this and talk about sweet Mark Cuban? Mark Cuban is apparently deleting a bunch of his pro-Kamala posts. Wonder why he's doing that. Yeah, he's scrubbing his website, folks. He's getting rid of all of his posts supporting Kamala Harris and whatnot. It to me, it's just hilarious. Here's a picture. It says with Kamala's face crossed out, "We are unburdened by what has been." Amen to that. I couldn't say that better myself. It's time to move on. No, nobody wants to be thinking about Kamala Harris anymore. At least I don't. Now, you are probably aware that right now there's like a first test for President Donald Trump elect, and that is the battle in the Senate right now for who is going to be the leader of the majority party, which is the Republicans. And you have this guy, this John Cornyn. You got a guy named Thune, and then of course my favorite pick, which is the former governor from Florida. You have Rick Scott. And I believe he's also Donald Trump's pick. I don't know if he has publicly said that, but I know that Elon Musk has come out and said, we want to see we want to see Rick Scott in that position. The other two candidates, the problem is, if you rewind the clock, they're on video talking, let's just say they're talking smack about President Trump. So let's take a quick piece here. It says Senator John Cornyn pushed Russian collusion during President Trump's first term. Remember all that Russian crap, that Russian nonsense? It was false, ladies and gentlemen. It was fake. It was made up. It was a Hillary Clinton type of thing. And it was just nonsense. And yet they ran with it and pushed it. And there are some Republicans that went ahead and was drinking that Kool-Aid. So let's
FBI Director James Comey said that they have not dialed back their interference by his judgment in U.S. Politics. So it's interesting that we have these diplomatic meetings. Everybody's nice. You shake hands, you smile, you walk around. At the same time, the man who was FBI director until last night has said they are still actively trying to interfere in our democracy.
Well, I think there's no question about that. We saw the act of interference in the French elections here just a few days ago. But through a combination of espionage, cyber espionage, propaganda efforts, use of social media, co-opting even some of the mainstream media to take phony news stories and to make them enter the mainstream is part of the way they undermine public confidence in our democratic institutions.
FBI Director James Comey said that they have not dialed
that right there, and the way that he handled this Russian collusion nonsense, I agree, is disqualifying. And he went on to say other things, let's just say they're very strong statements against President Trump. We all know I love to talk about The View and the ladies on The View. These ladies have lost their mind. This clip was from today because I watched this today. I don't know why I do. I don't know if I like self-torture or what, but the reality is these people are out. They are way out there. They have been going through the grieving process, ladies and gentlemen. We need to pray for these ladies because they have not accepted the reality that they lost. They are not happy, and they are still complaining and whining and trying to find a reason that Kamala Harris had such a brutal and huge loss. You know, they have the different stages of grief, right? I think the first one is denial. Well, they're kind of there, denial, then you move to anger. They're kind of going back and forth, a little bit of denial, a little bit of anger. You tell me what you think. Let's take a quick peek.
What it means is, will Trump? Look, Donald Trump won the electoral vote. He won. He's going to win the House. He won the Senate.
Well, you're right. Maybe that's not denial. Maybe it's just flat anger.
For all effects and purposes, he's got the Supreme Court. They've given him immunity. This is what the country voted for. This is, a lot of people thought that when he talked about mass deportations, he wasn't being serious. I don't know how many times he had to say it for people to realize he was being serious. Well, if you thought he wasn't being serious, the appointment of Tom Homan today as border czar, and he will be in charge of a mass deportation program, the largest the country has ever seen, they say. And now Stephen Miller, as deputy chief of staff, should let you know that he was absolutely serious. And when you talk about mass deportations, people think, oh, it's just going to be the criminals. There's not enough criminals, aliens in the federal prison system for it to be mass deportations. What it means is grandmothers. What it means is brothers and aunts. Yep. What it means is abuelos y abuelas. It means dreamers. It means your family members. It means your colleagues. It means your friends. It means people who are part of the society. And look.
Now, what they mean is that, let me translate it for you. What it means is that they are mad, and they are basically telling us, you elected the guy, and now you're going to get what you asked for. And they're trying to gaslight everyone once again and trying to scare the bejesus out of everybody. But the reality is there are anywhere from 12 million to probably 40 million illegal aliens in the country. I believe they think there's 12 to 20 million that have entered in the last year or 2 years, or at least during the term that Biden-Harris administration has been in place. And obviously they are going to try to scare everyone and cause all kinds of issues. But we have to do what we have to do. I will say I will get uncomfortable if it gets down to the point to where on film, you know how this is going to go at some point when they finally get all the criminals and the gangbangers out of the country. I hope they're wise enough not to be on film removing children and their families and stuff. I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think I want to see that. What I'd like to see the president focus on first is removing the bad actors, the criminals, this type of thing, because what we don't want to have happen in the future, and I'm not predicting this, I'm just hoping this doesn't happen, and that is families. You know, that can start to be a problem if they start actually removing families. But listen, the bottom line is they have to put a tough front up right now. They have to, because if they want to get, say, 20% of the job done, they got to push it all the way to 100. And they have to go. We're going in and we're going to do what we have to do. I think the president is trying to get the bad actors out, at least initially. I think that's the best way to describe it. So don't be scared. Don't be gaslighted when they start telling you all these horror stories. The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, we have to do something to take back our country. When I was a kid back during the Ronald Reagan administration, y'all may have heard me mention this before, Ronald Reagan entered an agreement with the Democrats at that time, and the agreement was real simple. Ronald Reagan said, I'll allow everybody that's here now a pathway to citizenship. And in return, the Democrats promised Reagan, we will seal the border. No problem, Mr. Reagan. We will seal the border. And of course, Ronald Reagan did his end of the bargain and allowed all these people. I forgot how many millions were there at the time, but there was a lot of people, and correctly so. They needed to find a way to solve that problem. You could not and cannot deport that many people back to their home country. I just don't think it mathematically, logistically can be done. That's a lot of people. And the reality is we probably need some immigration here. People that are native here are not having enough children. We have talked on this program about the population problem that we're all having. And the United States is fortunate enough to where, unlike Russia, Japan, even Ukraine, and some of the countries, a lot of the countries in Europe, especially China, they are really having a bad population problem because of their one-child policy. These places are going to really be hurt. Unfortunately, the United States does not have that problem because of immigration. But clearly, we need to seal the border, and then they need to find a way to solve this problem with immigration one way or the other. I don't pretend to always have the answers for everything, but I can guarantee you one thing: that border has to be sealed, period. We have to know who's coming into our country. Why did President Biden and Kamala Harris allow this to happen? Because they figure it's a power grab for the future. One way or the other, they know you cannot deport that many people. You can try, but you can't do it. So they figured it's nothing more than a power grab for the future. And they figure that all the Latinos coming in were going to vote Democratic. One good thing about this election, I mentioned this yesterday, President Trump proved that the Latinos as a whole are not going to just vote for the Democrats. It's not going to happen. President Trump got 55% of the male Latino vote. And overall, he got a 46% of the Latina vote. Outstanding for a Republican president. And that just shows me that if the Republicans message things correctly and they expand their tent and invite more people in, that the Latinos, especially as a whole, as the population becomes wealthier and more accustomed to whatever here in the United States, I have no doubt they're just not going to be voting for one party. And that's going to be a huge disappointment for the Democrats, because that's exactly what I think they were baking on. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me on that. I'm curious. Let me switch over to some comments here. I want to make sure that I get all the questions here that we have. Yeah, we got talking about the testing. Okay, Sapphire, my friend, thanks for being here today. And yesterday, Charlie Kirk said he has been invited to spend all weekend in Mar-a-Lago. Good. And help shape the right. Yeah. President Trump is wisely hunkering down in Mar-a-Lago, taking his time. And you know, he's a hard worker. That guy doesn't stop. Focusing like a laser, looking for the best people. And you know what's exciting to me about this next administration? He's not going to make the same mistakes that he made during the first administration. He's been there, done that. And let me tell you something else y'all may have forgot about. The January 6th folks, they're going to be pardoned. Hallelujah. Thank God. He's going to fix a lot that has went wrong. And I have a J.R. Dukes prediction for everybody. So I want to record it. We'll see if it comes to pass or not. But I got a very interesting prediction. I predict President Trump is going to pardon New York Mayor Adams. I forgot his first name off the top of my head, but he's going to pardon Mayor Adams. Remember, Mayor Adams has PO'd the Southern District of New York, the same place that is also going after Donald Trump. He has been accused of effectively cutting through red tape, in my mind, for the Turkish government so that the Turkish government could have an embassy quicker. He allegedly, if I understood the reports I read, he made it to where they didn't have to go through so many hoops or problems with the fire department, something along them lines. And in return, Mayor Adams got $1 million. No, I'm joking. He did not get $1 million. Mayor Adams got an upgrade on his airline seat. You can't make this stuff up. That's exactly what happened. He got an upgrade on his airline seat. I'm not kidding. That's what I read. That's my understanding. And for that, they're trying to put the mayor in jail for the rest of his life. Isn't that incredible? So you heard it here first, folks. I'm predicting President-elect Donald Trump will pardon Mayor Adams. Stay tuned for details. And of course, he's going to pardon the January 6 individuals. He has said so repeatedly. He calls them the J6 hostages. And my friends, I happen to agree with that assessment. Yeah, Zach, you're right. He is ending special social promotion. Yes. American Nana. Charlie Cook would be great. Yes, I like Charlie Cook myself. So does Sapphire. We agree with you, my friend. Zach, Anna B. Davis's brother. He's great at letting college kids give their views and then tells them the truth. I think that's a good way to handle it. You want people to think for themselves. And I like Mike Davis too, Sapphire. He's a stand-up guy. We didn't get to it today, but maybe tomorrow we'll dive deeper into his conversation that he had with Benny and with some others. And he puts Leticia James, you heard a little bit of it there. He tells her straight up that we're going to come for you. This ain't like it's been before. Now you're messing with the president of the United States and you are going to get mowed. And his words were pretty similar to what I just said. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. I really don't want to see a bunch of necessarily retribution, but then again, the injustice has to be made whole. It has to come full circle. These people could have destroyed our country engaging in this lawfare and essentially using our justice system to create a end political mean. I mean, they're trying to get to a political destination, aka getting these woke Democrats elected by simply putting the opposition in prison. Tell me that's not the definition of a banana republic. Just absolutely nuts. The sweetheart part wasn't necessary in terms of endearment. Oh, yeah, talking about Mike Davis's thing, you're right. Yes, he is. He's an interesting guy. He's worked for President Trump for quite some time. I believe he has worked on a lot of his different cases. I think he was helping him with that New York case in front of Judge Merchant. As a matter of fact, in another interesting development, I believe tomorrow Judge Merchant is supposed to be making a ruling as to what they're going to do with the rest of that case for Donald Trump. I can, oh, and by the way, Sapphire does have his own channel, American Anna. It's simply at Sapphire Ridge News, I believe. Mark, you can put that in the comments and I'll put it out here if I'm wrong on that. But you can definitely check his news out. He's got interesting videos that he puts out almost every day. So I encourage everybody to go over there and check that out. We have 100 and some odd people in the chat. It bounces up and down. I appreciate everybody being here. All right. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So we covered a lot of territory today, and I think this is going to be great. And I think tomorrow you're going to see Judge Merchant dismiss this case. It doesn't matter if he does or doesn't, because no matter what happens, this case is over pertaining to the New York nonsense that's been going on. That case is dead. You cannot have the judicial branch set in judgment or control or whatever word you want to use the executive branch. In our country, we have 3 distinct, separate, co-equal branches of government. And I don't care what Judge Merchant says or does. The Supreme Court will immediately undo it. There's no choice. That's what the Constitution calls for. You have to understand, folks, President Trump, they always like to gaslight us again and say, oh, he's not above the law. Well, you know what? That's true. He's not above the law, but he's not below the law either. And when you're president of the United States, like it or not, you are the law. You are the executive branch at a minimum. Now, that doesn't mean you can give orders that are illegal or something along them lines, but you are the embodiment of one of the co-equal branches of government. There's no way someone from New York City, a Judge Merchant, is going to be able to say anything against a soon-to-be sitting president. It's really just that simple. And JC, I agree with you. Vivek would make an excellent senator. I think that'd be good. And yeah, Sapphire is at Sapphire Ridge News. You guys should check him out. He's a friend of mine, and we met on this channel here. He's a pretty cool guy. So I appreciate everybody being here with me. Thank God that President Trump is in office. Let's make sure we all put him on our personal prayer list. It's very important that we pray for him and his family. He's a strong man. He's a good man, but like anybody, he's human and he needs our support. He needs our thought. He needs our prayers, and so does our nation. I hope that God's blessing is on each and every one of you. Appreciate y'all joining me today. I always like to say, keep that mind free. Never give up. Until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.